Mr. Speaker, sir, today we present before this Honorable House the Kisii County Supplementary Budget for the financial year 2023-2024 for approval. The Kisii County Revised Budget 2023-2024 has been prepared as the financial year 2023-2024 budget implementation enters the third quarter of the financial year. The revised budget aims to address key issues.
I think copies are going to be availed. The clerk, you can avail the copies for the same. Okay, proceed. Copies are being availed. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The revised budget aims to address key issues with regards to budget revisions in the various votes occasioned by resource realignments and other emerging and foreseen scenarios.
Order, members. Just sit down and you are going to be given. Bring more copies. Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the Kisii County Assembly approved the budget estimates for the financial year 2023-2024 on 22nd June 2023, and the budget is still being implemented. In line with the provisions of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, and in accordance to Section 135 of the Public Finance Management Act, Mr. Speaker, I need members to be attentive.
Copies are coming.
Share the so that you have.
Proceed. Order. Proceed.
You can share with your neighbor.
Honorable Monyenye, you are out of order. Copies are coming. Remember, we have just suspended this house for our business, so copies are coming. Proceed. And let us be orderly.
Mr. Speaker, the document was committed to the Committee of Budget and Appropriation for expeditious consideration. Pursuant to the requirements of Section 135 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012 and the Standing Order number 215 of the Kisii County Assembly Standing Orders, the Budget and Appropriation Committee interrogated and reviewed the revised, and today the committee presents the adjustments and recommendations to this House for debate and adoption. Mr. Speaker, the members of the committee are on page 3, and you can go through them. Mandate. Mr. Speaker, sir, Standing Order number 108, specific mandate among them being to, number A, to investigate, inquire into, and report on all matters relating to coordination, control, and monitoring of the county budget, and discuss and review the estimates and make recommendations to the County Assembly for debate and adoption. The legal framework, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Constitution of Kenya 2010 has placed significant responsibilities on county assemblies over the management of public resources. The Assembly has in particular received enhanced responsibility with regard to resource mobilization, allocation, monitoring, control, and oversight. Mr. Speaker, sir, ideally, a good revised budget should abide by a set of laws and procedures in order to avoid distortions in the development agenda as envisaged in the approved budget of a particular financial year. The Public Finance Act 2012, Section 135(1). Mr. Speaker, protect me from Honorable Ishmael is making noise. On account of either insufficient funds allocated to programs or the emergence of unforeseen and unavoidable expenditures for which no amounts were allocated. It is under the foregoing premise and other justifications mentioned in this report that the county government has based this revised budget as here under. Number 1. A county government may spend money that has not been appropriated if the amount appropriated for any purpose under the County Appropriation Act is insufficient or a need has arisen for expenditure for a purpose which no amount has been appropriated by that act, or money has been withdrawn from the county government emergency fund. Number 2, a county government shall submit a supplementary budget in support of the additional expenditure for authority for spending under subsection 1. Number 3, in complying with subsection 2, a county government shall describe how the additional expenditure relates to the fiscal responsibility principles and financial objectives. Number 4, except as provided by subsection 5, the approval of the county assembly for any spending under this section shall be sought within 2 months after the first withdrawal of the money. Number 5, if the county assembly is not sitting during the time contemplated in subsection 4, or is sitting but adjourns before approval has been sought, approval shall be sought within 14 days after its next sits. Number 6, When the County Assembly has approved spending under subsection 2, a supplementary appropriation bill shall be introduced for the appropriation of the money spent. Number 7, in any financial year, the county government may not spend under this section more than 10% of the amount appropriated by the County Assembly for that year, unless the County Assembly has, in special circumstances, approved a higher percentage. The rationale for this revised budget 2023-2024, Mr. Speaker, sir. Number 1 was salaries. There was an adjustment of 250 million for salaries, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we are all aware that the house levy was introduced, and in the house levy, Mr. Speaker, sir, the employee contributes an amount which the employer also contributes an equal amount. So when we were doing the budget, we had not factored this because we didn't see it coming. So it had to be factored. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, we have salary increment from SRC in all departments, and also the issue of NSSF. And during the budget, we had left out some salaries for members of the municipality. So we allocated a total of 250 million, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, the second issue was the Mother and Child Hospital, which is based at the KTRH. This is a very critical facility in the Department of Health, and we allocated 100 million. Mr. Speaker, sir, the third one was the industrial park. The industrial park, initially, the national government was supposed to provide an amount whereby the county government also provides the same amount. But initially, Mr. Speaker, the national government had allocated 4.7 billion, where every county was supposed to get 100 million. But later on, they changed and said that an industrial park takes 500 million, whereby it will be funded both by the county and the national government. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, a few months ago, you saw the former Minister for Trade, One Honorable Moses Kuria, launch an industrial park at Tongeri, and it was supposed to be, the contractor was awarded, so the amount which was there initially 100 was not sufficient, and we put 150 for a start, as we wait for the national government to also give us the 250 million, and in the next maybe supplementary, or in the forward budget, we shall also provide the 100 million. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have an issue of FLOCA, which is climate change. This climate change, we had allocated 7.5 million, and they needed an extra of 71 because it should be 3% of the development budget. So we've done 2% actually. And this money is going to unlock another 136 million, which is going to come back to us. Mr. Speaker, sir, we also have contracted labor-based staff. And in this one, Mr. Speaker, we want to introduce what we call, there's a name they call it, labor-based type of managing maybe the roads and drainage systems, and we have allocated 50 million. Mr. Speaker, sir, rationale number 6 was Nyamache Hospital. Initially, we had members of the airport authority who came there for treatment of heart diseases, and they said that they shall establish Nyamache Hospital to be a center of treating heart diseases. So for a start, it was given 30 million. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have community health workers. In this county, we have a total of 2,900 community health workers, and this one, they shall be given stipends, and the stipends will be provided both by the national government and the county government. So we had allocated an amount which was not sufficient, so they were also given an extra 30 million. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have the fencing at the fire station, the completion of the governor's residence at 10 million. We have fuel, because we shall also be providing for machineries and the public works. So these machineries will also require fuel. We've provided for 30 million. And the fuel also, most of the departments have insufficient fuel, and also based on the increase of the fuel, we've allocated 30 million. Mr. Speaker, we also have Kisii Hospital. Kisii Hospital, there's a mortuary which needs renovation. We have a completion actually, we have allocated 3 million. We have purchase of Maram at 20 million. Improvement of level 4 facilities. Mr. Speaker, sir, most of the level 4 hospitals are in deplorable states, and we've put 30 million to improve some of the level 4 hospitals. Then we have fencing of ATC at 15 million. We have Danida. We had initially allocated an amount which was not sufficient, so we've given them an extra 15 million. There is a renovation of the executive offices at 8 million. And then point number 22, we have Kisii Stadium. Kisii Stadium is under renovation, but the money that was allocated is not enough, so we've also given it an extra 20 million. Yes. Mr. Speaker, we have pending bills. Initially, you heard of the eligible, ineligible, and those ones which were at the center. And after considering, it is also fair that we also allocate 150 million so that we can also pay the pending bills. We have Ogembo Level 4 Hospital. Ogembo Level 4, when the president came to Ogembo, he promised that he was to give Ogembo 200 million. But he wanted us to also provide 100 million so that he can also give the 200 million. But since we do not have sufficient funds, for a start, we've given them 80 million so that maybe in the next supplementary or in the forward budget, we provide the extra 20 million so that we can also get the 200 million from the national government. We have purchase of graders at 80 million, Mr. Speaker. These graders, Mr. Speaker, are very critical because you realize most of the members of the county assembly, especially when they have funerals, you realize there's maybe no road going to that funeral and somebody is required to make a road. So it becomes very hard even to attend a funeral if you've not made that road. So we considered to purchase 2 graders. That's why we also provided for the fuel at 30 million. Mr. Speaker, we also have medical drugs. We had provided 142 million for purchase of drugs, but we've also given them an extra 50 million because the 142, even this 50 might not be sufficient, but for a start, we've also added them 50 million so that at least our people can have drugs in the various facilities. And then we have a medical scheme. The medical scheme, Mr. Speaker, was supposed to cost 200 million. We had provided for 156. So it needed an extra 45 million. So it was also provided at 45 million, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the committee sittings. In reviewing the 2023-2024 supplementary budget, the committee held a number of sittings during which a number of adjustments and recommendations were proposed and adopted by the committee after discussions. The departmental budget adjustments were carefully scrutinized by the budget committee, whose worthy recommendations have been factored in this report. The recommendations will play a critical role by informing departments in the forward budget processes. Mr. Speaker, revenue adjustments on page 8. Can look at page 8. Mr. Speaker, the county treasury made the following brief summary of the proposed adjustments in revenues. The first one, Mr. Speaker, was equitable share. If you look at the equitable share, Mr. Speaker, it was 9,248,560,518. But later on, after making the budget, we were added an extra 10 million, 28,090 shillings. So it increased by that amount to make a total of 9,258,588,608 shillings. Leasing of medical equipment, Mr. Speaker, remains at 1.4,723,404. Mr. Speaker, let me talk about the revenues which were affected. The industrial park, as I explained earlier on, the national government had provided for 4.7 billion that was supposed to cater for 100 million in every county until they changed to 250, so making it 45 million. So initially we had factored an industrial park on the revenue side and the expenditure side. So it was a contra entry, so we have removed the 100 million on both sides on revenue. And then we also have the NIDA. Initially we had allocated 14,206,500,000, but Mr. Speaker, this was not enough. So the NIDA needed an extra 15 million, so we've also provided for the 15 million as also a contra. Mr. Speaker, we have FLOCA, which was 33,192,137 shillings. So we've had an increase of 104,307 shillings, 863. And then another issue which has been touched is the construction of the cancer center. Mr. Speaker, we had also provided 620 million, which was to contribute to the construction of the cancer center, but it was also a contra entry on the revenue side and the expenditure side. But from the national government, this money is not going to come because what is going to come is the 1.8 billion, which is a donation from some farm. So the 620 was also deducted. The revenue was not touched, and the unspent balances for the financial year 2022-2023 also remained at 2.35 billion. The budget estimates, Mr. Speaker, sir, per department, and the county assembly was affected by 70 million. Mr. Speaker, sir, we adjusted the county assembly budget by 70 million, where we removed 50 million from the chambers and 20 for the construction of offices. So we have now a total of 1.387 billion. The office of the governor was adjusted by 57,400,000. The county public service initially was given an allocation of 7 million because we've not been having a board in place. So because of the boards and also the allowances, they were also given an extra 10 million. Administration, enforcement, and devolved units was deducted by 65 million, as you can see. Stakeholder management, public participation, and disaster services was also deducted by 58 million. Finance and accounting services was deducted by 44,350,000. Economic planning and development was deducted by 33,450,000. Agriculture and cooperative development was also deducted by 16,550,959. Fisheries, livestock, and veterinary services was deducted by 57,800,000. Water, we have an increase of 53,935,260 based on the water-based deductions and also the money that we gave them for FLOCA. It has a positive adjustment of 53,935,260, Mr. Speaker. Education, labor and manpower development has a reduction of negative 126 to 11,654. Medical services, public health and sanitation, Mr. Speaker, this one has a deduction of 173, 151, 100 shillings. The reason why it's becoming a negative, Mr. Speaker, is because of the construction of the cancer center, which initially had 620. So 620, but we also gave them money for Gembo, we gave them money for Nyamache, we gave the department also money for improvement of level 4 hospitals. We also provided money for the CHVs and purchase of drugs. So it has a negative adjustment of 173, 151,100 shillings. Lands, physical planning and development, we have 36,556,094. This one is based on the water-based deductions and also the Ogembo municipality, no, not Ogembo, and also the street lights. So it is a negative adjustment of that 6 million. Infrastructure, roads and public works has a positive adjustment of 105,387,641. Because, Mr. Speaker, here we have the purchase of the graders, we have also the fuel, it became a positive figure. Trade, industry and tourism development, we have a reduction of 10 million. Youth, sports, culture, 27 million. Kisii municipality, 6 million. And then Ogembo municipality, 10,500,000, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee examined the development budget of the county assembly and made the following adjustments. I think I'd explained this one earlier on. So, Mr. Speaker, the committee observations. The Budget and Appropriation Committee carefully analyzed the proposals in this supplementary budget, and the recommendations given are based on the interrogations made. The committee noted the following. The county government has been consistently running deficit budgets, majorly because of its failure to meet the local revenue targets. This exposes the poor implementation pursuits of the revenue collection and administration policies put in place by the government. Mr. Speaker, if you realize, the on-source revenue was not touched because most of the times we put a figure that we cannot be able to attain, so we left it at 650, and from where I sit, Mr. Speaker, I can see that we are going to surpass that figure. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, there exists a gap in legislation of revenue enhancement laws in the county. Enactment of these laws will require consistent collaboration and consultation in policy development between the county assembly and the executive, Mr. Speaker. Like what is going on, Mr. Speaker, as from 11th of this month, the Committee of Budget is going to vet revenue officers. So in those interrogations, we might also see what we can be able to adjust and the gaps that we might be able to fill. The committee observed the need to regularly submit budget implementation status reports to the Assembly by the implementing entities to enhance accountability and oversight. Committee recommendations, Mr. Speaker. The Committee of Budget and Appropriation made the following recommendations. Number one, revenue automation should be given priority to eliminate the human interference element in revenue collection. Vigorous and concerted efforts should be made by both arms of government to ensure local revenue targets are met to remedy budget deficits. The second one, Mr. Speaker, the County Assembly and the Executive should prioritize and fast-track timely submissions and considerations of the budget documents which require strict legal timelines. The third one, Mr. Speaker, the County Executive and the Assembly should promote collaborative synergies in budgeting through regular submissions of budget implementation reports, information sharing, and consultations. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Committee of Budget for taking their time to go through this document. I also want to thank the members of the County Assembly for also interrogating this budget and also giving their submissions, because on the word-based reductions, Mr. Speaker, it was on a willing basis, Mr. Speaker, because we needed money for these flagship projects, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me to welcome the Vice Chair to second this motion, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I rise to second, and I think we, as a Committee of Budget, we've done our best to see that this supplementary is implemented. Thank you.
Honorable members, thank you for the Committee of Budget for your commitment to ensure that you have worked for this county. Honorable members, I now propose a question, which is that the House adopts a report of the Select Committee on Budget and Appropriation on the Kisii County Supplementary Budget for the financial year 2023-2024, read on the table today, Tuesday, 50 December 2023. Time for members now to discuss. Honorable Ndali.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. And first of all, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Committee on Budget, Mr. Speaker, because there have been issues which have been raised by some authorities, Mr. Speaker, on our budget. And I want to thank them because they have done a good job to address them, Mr. Speaker. Because once a budget is made, Mr. Speaker, it's an estimate. And they say, Mr. Speaker, that if all circumstances remain constant, that's when the budget can be implemented. But during the cycle of a budget, Mr. Speaker, there are emerging issues, which, Mr. Speaker, I want to say the Budget Committee has addressed, Mr. Speaker. We've been having issues of pending bills, which, Mr. Speaker, our people worked and they wanted to be paid. And I'm happy, Mr. Speaker, because they have provided some money there so that our people who are contractors can now be paid, Mr. Speaker. Even though it's not enough, Mr. Speaker, but at least they have shown some willingness, Mr. Speaker, that the county is going now to pay some pending bills. I know, Mr. Speaker, when we had an audit committee which was looking at the pending bills, they came up with a figure of close to 231 million, which was eligible, Mr. Speaker. And there are some other bills, Mr. Speaker, which were considered ineligible. But now, Mr. Speaker, I understand they have paid some close to 119 million and the balance is remaining. We want to ask the government that it pays, Mr. Speaker, so that we can have money circulation, Mr. Speaker, in our county. As I stand to support Mr. Speaker, I'm also the happiest person because today in the morning, Mr. Speaker, the leader of majority read names for Gembo municipality. Mr. Speaker, it's a dream which is coming true because we started this issue of upgrading Ogembo to a municipality around 2015-2016 financial year when we were doing a digital integrated development plan by my predecessor, Mr. Speaker. And when I came in 2017, I've been following on the issue of the upgrade of Ogembo to a municipality status, Mr. Speaker. This year in January, Mr. Speaker, our Governor, Honorable Simbarati, launched the municipality in Ogembo, Mr. Speaker, and the people had high hopes, Mr. Speaker, that infrastructure in Ogembo can improve, Mr. Speaker. And because we have not been having a board, Mr. Speaker, we have been hammered that we cannot move forward. But this morning, when the leader majority read the names, Mr. Speaker, I feel my heart is somehow settled because I know once we have a board in Ogembo, Mr. Speaker, at least we will see some infrastructure going on in Ogembo, Mr. Speaker. Even though, Mr. Speaker, I saw by the proposal given by the chair budget, they have reduced the budget from Ogembo municipality of 10.5. Mr. Speaker, I understand budget process is a give and take, and Mr. Speaker, we appreciate the efforts because at least even though they have removed some money, Mr. Speaker, they have also given us some money so that we can start building Ogembo Hospital, which has been a shanty, Mr. Speaker. And then you remember the governor saying he visited Ogembo, and it was not like an hospital, Mr. Speaker, it was just like a kiosk. And now we are happy, Mr. Speaker, not people of Ogembo only, people who come from South Mugirango, people who come from Owasi, and people who come from Machoge now, Mr. Speaker. Once the hospital is built, at least people can get services, Mr. Speaker, because Ogembo is an old hospital which started a long time ago, but infrastructure-wise, Mr. Speaker, is doing poorly. But services, at least, they are not so bad. Mr. Speaker, therefore, I stand here to support this budget, Mr. Speaker, this committee report, Mr. Speaker, and I wish to persuade our honorable members that we pass these recommendations, we pass this report, so that, Mr. Speaker, the implementation can start in earnest, Mr. Speaker, so that our people can start benefiting. Mr. Speaker, therefore, I stand to support. Thank you.
Honorable Karen.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want, first of all, to thank the Committee on Budget and Appropriation and the Chair for having stood out, even as we read those changes, the proposed appropriation for the Kisii County. Honorable Speaker, my mind will be drawn to specific areas that I feel are of interest to the county. And first of all, I would want also to congratulate my chair for having brought it very clear that certain changes are being made to meet the deficit that could be in those areas. Honorable Speaker, my interest is drawn to mother and child. I remember when we had our meeting, or when we were inspecting the facility, KTRH, we were with the Senate committee, and what stood out is that we have a facility, we have a structure that has been done very well, and we needed to put at least 100 million for a start so that that facility can start working. Honorable Speaker, the mother and child is an interest for all of us, And now that the KTRH refers as a referral in this region, so we are supporting or making this giving the 100 million so that it can be operational. Number 2, Honorable Speaker, Ogembo level 4 becomes second in terms of revenue collection. After KTRH, it is Ogembo that follows KTRH. So, Honorable Speaker, it is important that we increase the participation of improving this particular facility, because it does not only serve the people of Ogembo, but it serves the sub-counties that are around. And I am saying we have only started with 80 million, and I'm sure in the next financial year we are going to, it is within the interest of this house that we shall truly make Ogembo a level 4, which will be functioning well. And I want to say that even the MOG, Ogembo MOG serves quite a number of constituencies around Ogembo. So it is of this interest that we feel the money that has been reduced from other departments to be brought to Ogembo, it was something that was well thought. Honorable Speaker, when we were interrogating this budget, it was also came to our attention as a committee that we were talking about Nyamache sub-county, which was given 30 million. It is important for members to understand that we were putting the 30 million there for purposes of drawing the attention of whoever wants to support that facility. So the 30 million is meant to add or to ensure that whoever who has a willingness, because they are going to deal with the heart problems, so that the facility can also be improved. Overall, Honorable Speaker, I have chosen to focus on the health sector, because that is where I know our people are interested for us to improve, and that is what directly affects majority of our Kisii residents. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to support and ask our honorable members that they support this appropriation and the supplementary budget, so that when these changes are made, Honorable Speaker, we are going to ensure that our people are going to have services. Above all, Honorable Speaker, I also want to say, and of interest of it is also the issue of bending bills, which I know it was not enough, but I want to say that we have started. When we have put 150 million, that is a demonstration that we mean well for our contractors. I support, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Amos.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the chance. I also want to contribute to the debate. And first, I want to say that I'm a member of this budget committee that came up with this report. So I stand to support the report. But I have a few issues that I equally raised when we were meeting in Kisumu over the same. Number one is on the rationale of coming up with this supplementary. Of course, we understand that supplementaries are brought because of like two reasons. Either you've overspent or underspent, or you want to reallocate. But when we were looking at this budget, Mr. Speaker, we didn't see much of overspending or underspending, because unfortunately, the budget that we passed on 22nd June this year has not been implemented. I can say at 99%. So mainly, most of the changes that we are seeing here is reallocation. And that to me, Mr. Speaker, really brought the issue of competence in implementation of this budget. Because if the budget experts wanted to do some of the projects that they have just introduced now, this could have been done when we were doing the budget at the initial stages. So, Mr. Speaker, on that, I wanted to say we have a challenge of implementation. That let the budget experts think through before maybe they give us the budget when we are starting the financial year. Let them be sure of what they want to do, because we don't want to do reallocation mid-year when we've not done anything. That is point number one, Mr. Speaker. Number two, Mr. Speaker, protect me from the leader of my majority. Another issue that we saw in the budget is the issue of equity. Because, Mr. Speaker, when we passed the budget that we did on 22nd June, one of the issues that we looked at is equity, ward-based development. We wanted each and every ward to have an equal share of the county cake. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, when we were looking at this budget, we saw a lot of cuts that are ward-based and most money going to mega projects. Mr. Speaker, looking at that, you find that there is no equity in this budget, and if we go by this trend, Mr. Speaker, we are likely to go back to where we started. Because you remember, Mr. Speaker, when we passed this budget, we wanted to solve that problem. Because, Mr. Speaker, for example, you are talking of, I have a dispensary called Kera. Kera dispensary had a budget, let's say 3 million. Now we're moving that money and we're taking it to Nyamachi. So you see my people at Kera are not really going to, as much as it's a nice project, are not going to feel good that there is money, however small, is going from their ward and moving elsewhere. So that issue, I urge the honorable members maybe to really consider that. It might be a very nice thing to look at the mega projects, but at the end of the day, there are small projects which matter for some people that we are likely to affect. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, I wanted to talk about the issue of bundling of project money. For example, my chair mentioned of a labor-based road maintenance budget of 50 million. And previously, we've also had budgets for culverts, which are normally bundled for the whole county. I would request that the budget experts, because that doesn't come from us as the budget committee members, that we, in future, we consider unbundling this money. Because if you are talking of 50 million for road maintenance, you find that some roads from some other wards are likely to suffer. So, Mr. Speaker, those are my contributions. I'm supporting it. But let's, again, be careful when we're doing this process next time so that we avoid introducing supplementaries within the year when we've not implemented anything. Thank you.
Honourable members, you know this is a contentious issue and everybody want to contribute. So when you are given time, just take like 2 minutes. Honourable Siocha. Utitatu wale members of
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, I support the report before us, but I wanted to inform the honourable member, to you, the chair, the honourable member for Nyatiko, Honourable Amos, that this supplementary is as a result of exclusively of unforeseen and unavoidable circumstances. And we has not gone through the areas that forced the county government to introduce this supplementary. I want to remind him that prior to the commencement of this financial year, the SRC, that is on for number one, that is salaries, because you are saying that there is an introduction of 250 million towards salaries. For your information, at the commencement of this financial year, the SRC increased, as you all know, the SRC increased salaries for staff, that is for the honorable members and the county staff, and for that provision at during the formation of arrest, during the preparation of this financial, that was not foreseen. So after the SRC increased salaries, the county government had to move and ensure that some more money are allocated towards salaries. And secondly, on the same, as you all know, the government of Kenya Kwanza introduced the housing levy, which was not foreseen at the preparation of this financial year. And then secondly, as you all know, the issue of FLOCA. FLOCA money was not set aside for climate change, and the county government had to introduce that towards the same. I've seen you talk about contracted labor for staff, and you said that you wanted to know the specific roads which you think of that this money will be diverted into. And this will be on need basis, and that is what I wanted to inform you, that it will be on need basis. You may be having a funeral in Nyatieko, and you come and request maybe the minister in charge of roads that you have a road that is near impossible and you need them to fix or do something. The provision of that money is towards such works. That's why we have seen there is even provision of graders, and provision for money towards purchase of moram, so that whenever such needs arise, you find that there is money towards the same. So, in a nutshell, I wanted to inform the honorable member that this supplementary, all the efforts that have been introduced, I approve those that were unforeseen and were unavoidable. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I support.
Honorable Lydian Goll. Honorable Shoja, you can put that one off.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I really appreciate this opportunity to also add my voice to this budget making process and also the supplementary estimates. I want to agree with my colleague, Honorable Karen, that heavy investment on hospitals is a very good gesture, particularly for the Mother-Child Hospital. And I think it's one of the best things that would happen, particularly for the women fraternity in this county. When we read through this report, Honorable Speaker, we, particularly myself, have been denied an opportunity to understand some of the stuffs in the document. We have had the Honorable Chair budget say that the 250 million that has been allocated is for housing levy, NSSF, salary increments, and the members of the municipality. One of the things I'd want clarified is we have had an issue of ECD teachers. Those who are being moved to PNP, are they part of that 250 million, or we should anticipate another supplementary budget? The trade, I come from the trade committee, that's where I sit, and my concern majorly are in trade, and there are two. If you check finer details of this report, which doesn't seem to be before us, the tourism department, the allocation for this, which we did for the budget 2022-2023, which we are now amending, was an allocation of 6 million. The whole amount has been scrapped off. Sometimes it's not explainable. Is it that the department is closed, or the people who are there didn't need this money, or we allocated in error? Because even if we are reducing monies in departments, then we must consider, are there specific projects that we are removing from that place or another? We come from a background as trade committee, as a committee that has had a section of its department scrapped off, with an explanation not given to us. So when we see money is moving from a whole department, moving to another section that is totally unrelated, then we must get an explanation. So I would really appreciate, Honorable Speaker, to get from the chair an explanation as to the tourism amount that is allocated, why the whole amount is moved. A little bit of more explanation of the industrial park. I have had a chit chat with the chair budget before this, and he has almost given me an assurance that the industrial park allocation is there. But figures don't lie. When you look at this document, there is no proof that that amount is secured, because when we talk about 150 million, counter entry is talking about 100 million. Either there's a 50 million hanging somewhere, or the whole amount is not considered. So we need a further explanation. Do we still have the industrial park factored in the budget for this particular county? Lastly, Honorable Speaker, I have also had another 20 million allocated for completion of the renovation of the Kisii Stadium. The last budget allocation of the document we have was 30 million. I'd like the Honorable Chair to clarify, is it my maths that is wrong, or that renovation of the stadium is going to cost a total of 50 million? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Beatrice. Lilian, you can put off your mic.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, sir, for this chance for me to give my views on this supplementary. From the onset, I support. I could want to comment on the committee where I sit, the Committee on Water and Climate Change, whereby we have been given, whereby 20 million has been given for fuel. We have a new rig which sits in the offices which has never done anything in the county, and now that we have fuel, I think the rig will be used for drilling boreholes in all the wards of our county. Again, we have money has been allocated to unlock the FLOCA funds for FLOCA funds, which is financially locally led climate change action program. Already, ward climate change members sat down and give project for each ward, which will be done by the FLOCA. So I think I'm very happy for the fund which will unlock the FLOCA funds, so that all the climate action programs will be carried on throughout the county as brought forward by the ward climate committees. Again, 30 million has been allocated for community health workers. As we are all aware, community health workers have been working voluntarily. Now that money has been allocated for them, I think good work will be done. Honorable Ndari said he is the happiest man since Ogembo municipality is going to start working. Hope Honorable Bagaka, Jeremiah, and Honorable Peter are happier. Some of us are happy about it. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, sir, for the chance.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also want to make my contribution to what my colleagues have been able to say. Whereas there could be a few good things in the budget, the supplementary budget that we are discussing today, there are also a few observations that we need to make, and I want to actually add my voice to what my colleagues have said. Honorable Speaker, I have had an opportunity to peruse through. The document that we are having here is a report on the budget committee on supplementary budget. And so when you read it, you must read it alongside the proposed supplementary budget. Honorable Speaker, I want to address myself to almost about three things. One, I have looked through this report, and I have seen what Honorable Mukaya was talking about, unbundled deductions. And those deductions, of course, are meant to finance specific deficits in the budget. But Honorable Speaker, when we have those reductions, which have been classified in this budget, if you go to page 13, you go to page 9, you go to page 15, we have what has been classified in the budget at what-based reductions, Honorable Speaker. In education, we have a deduction of 100 million Kenya shillings. We have a deduction of 155 million Kenya shillings from the health sector. We have a ward-based deduction of 300 million on road sector, and the other departments continue. Honorable Speaker, the reason as why we normally have a column for adjustments when we are making budgets is for you to be able to demonstrate within that line for adjustment what is specifically being deducted, Honorable Speaker. But that reduction, Honorable Speaker, it is actually done harmoniously. The specific deductions are not being indicated, and Honorable Speaker, I see that as a very big gap. I've also listened to what my colleague, Honorable Lilian is talking about regarding the industrial park. It's true, there is 100 million initially in the budget. I've looked through the column for the initially approved budget of 2023-2024.
and there is additional of 50 million. So that cumulatively makes 150 million for the industrial park. But I know that the industrial park has been contracted at the amount of 477 million Kenya shillings and has now been classified as a multi-year. Whether that will come to pass, I think is a discussion we can have for another day. Honorable Speaker, the chairman budget did mention about purchase of graders. Although he contradicted what is in the document, he's talking about a grader and he's talking about a grader and a tractor, 8 million Kenya shillings. Honorable Speaker, and the amount of money that has been put together cumulatively as all wards, and that amount is drawn from drainage works, where we have 10 million Kenya shillings. We have money for culverts, and we have money for Maram, which the chairman talked about 20 million, but when I look through the budget, it has been put 10 million. I hope they have increased that to 20 million. Honorable Speaker, the danger for not unbundling money at the budget making process level, it leaves room for misuse, Honorable Speaker. I would always love a scenario where you are very specific on what you are going to do other than generalizing and saying you are going, and that's the problem we have. Even when you look through this budget and you go to page 5 of the budget estimate itself, we have residential houses for the vulnerable. And we have 40 million Kenya shillings, and it is written all wards, Honorable Speaker. And I have seen many times some of these houses being constructed in respective wards, and none has ever been constructed at Bokimonge. Honorable Speaker, we need to devise a criteria and say whatever that we have put for all wards, how do we ensure that there is an aspect of equity so that what Tendere receives in terms of the amount of money, the 40 million we are putting in essential houses, is equivalent to what Bogetauri is receiving, is equivalent to what Bogosero is receiving, so that this element of inequity that Honorable Mukaya was talking about, Honorable Speaker, becomes a thing of the past. But as long as we are still continuing this way, the aspect of inequity, Honorable Speaker, is going to be very complicated. Honorable Speaker, I have listened to the chair, and I've also looked through the budget, page 17 of the budget estimates, which talks about the pending bills. And this committee, with the guidance of executive, have allocated 150 million for pending bills. Honorable Speaker, the manner in which I understand the pending bills are considered as a fast charge. And under the Public Finance Management County Regulations 2015, Regulation 55(2)B, speaks about those pending bills which are of fast charge. But if you look through that page 17, what has been itemized as pending bills, Honorable Speaker, in actual sense, they do not qualify as the pending bills that we are contemplating under Regulation 55. Regulation 55 talks about fast charge. The claims that were incurred a bit earlier, the claims that have been listed here, Honorable Speaker, are recent claims. And so it raises a question whether the 120 million we're talking about is going to solve the problem Honorable Moa talked about. 119 was paid, but where are those other ones which were not paid? Are they factored here? What is factored is the latest claims. And I think, Honorable Speaker, as we move along, I know that is going to bring quite a bit of a challenge. But finally, Honorable Speaker, if you protect me.
It was few seconds, Honorable, you have taken 5 minutes. Yes. Just few seconds.
Sure. Finally, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Lillian raised a very fundamental question, and Chairman Budget, please take note of this very particular one. You have done double allocation for money for Wusi Stadium. If you check on page 24 of this document, and Speaker, this one I let a chair to actually go through, and anybody can open page 24 of this document. This document has page 24 twice. So the page 24 that I'm talking about is page 24, which has the term on top of it, supplementary notes. If you check page 24 of this document, you will be able to see completion of Stadia, Wusi Stadium. And the amount of money that is there put there is 20 million Kenya shillings. And that is under development expenditure. Honorable Speaker, when you go to page 67 of this document of the budget estimates, page 67, you will also be able to see under recurrent expenditure, another line being introduced there, and that line is development expenditure, completion of Wusi Stadium, 30 million Kenya shillings. They need perhaps
Point of order. Yes, on Delhi, you can put it to your mic off. put it off.
Honorable Speaker, I'm getting confused because the document I have is up to page 15. That was the chair tabled, and this is what we're discussing. When it talks about the budget 50 something and what, I don't know what the speech are. We're talking about the report. Honorable Speaker.
I think at the right time the chair will respond. At the right time the chair will respond, Honorable Leader Majority. The right time, Honorable Ndari, the chair will respond when you are concerned. Yeah. No, I think your time is. Now, just I'll give you one more time when next. Let leader continue with the point of.
Thank you, Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the budget is a negotiated document whereby elected members, the governor accepted, Mr. Speaker, we put money together so that every ward, Mr. Speaker, can benefit equally. And Mr. Speaker, the member who has just left the floor, Mr. Speaker, has not, I've heard him complain of Kisii Stadium. He has not told us, Mr. Speaker, that much of the money actually is going to his ward for industrial park at Tongeri. And Mr. Speaker, these elected members, Mr. Speaker, we met and they discussed this document.
Order.
This member, Mr. Speaker, was having a retreat in Karen. We could not go and remove him from Karen to bring him to this assembly.
Leader, no.
To see the document.
Leader.
So I'm informing the member that if the member is a childish, you have go to Karen and they bring the program from there. Go to Karen and they bring the program from there.
Order.
Stupid boy.
Order. Honorable Muraja, order, Honorable Muraja. Order. Honorable Muraja, I am going to case you out. Order. Leader, order. All members, order. Everybody was treating himself, so there is no problem. So, order. Even myself, I was treating myself. There is nothing wrong when you are treating yourself. Honorable Order. Excuse me. Order. Honorable Gugu, you can proceed.
Honorable Speaker, I support this report. Honorable Speaker, in any society or organization, resources are not enough. Honorable Speaker, is a matter of negotiation, give and take, so that we can move forward. But Honorable Speaker, I want to give two things, Honorable Speaker. Number one, the chairpersons of secretarial committees, Committee on Agriculture, Committee on Roads and the like, please ensure, if this revised budget is passed, ensure the activities in these departments are working. Ensure procurement is done in time so that we serve our people. So I'm urging my colleagues who are chairpersons in each sector, man has been proposed, if approved, and also we move forward. A budget planning, Honorable Speaker, is delayed, it delays Honorable Speaker. Man has been there, we are giving this position, Honorable Speaker. What we want to do, Honorable Speaker, the way forward is to give service to our people in the Kisii County. Honorable Speaker, number two, the ECMs and the chief officers in the Kisii County, Honorable Speaker, it's high time they come up with proposals and how to implement the budget in time so that we serve our people. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the committee through the chairman, Honorable Otachi, for work done. I know it's very difficult. It's very difficult, Honorable Speaker. I've served in this committee for a long time, and I'm on account of preparation. It's very difficult, Honorable Speaker, to have this proposal, Honorable Speaker. And I think they have planned their midnight, whatever, Honorable Speaker, to come up with this proposal, Honorable Speaker. Honorable members will not get enough. What we have, Honorable Speaker, let us what we did. My only word, Honorable Speaker, is
the implementation of these programs. Honorable Speaker, I support.
Honorable members, let me once more remind you that the budget is about availing resources so that we can serve our people effectively. And it is your duty as honorable members, because every honorable member who is here, you have a ward. And your people, they need services. And it is only through this document you can serve your people. So if we make it, this budget process, we make it that it looks as if we are doing politics about the budget, honorable members, at the end of the day, it is us, honorable members, who are going to pick casualties on this. Honorable Ndari, point of order.
Mr. Speaker, I stand on point of order standing order number 27. 3, Mr. Speaker. A, which talks about extending time for sitting, Mr. Speaker. We have a very important business in this house, Mr. Speaker, which is the budget. And Mr. Speaker, as I see it, the morning sitting ends at 12:30 p.m., Mr. Speaker. And I foresee, Mr. Speaker, by the time we are finishing with this business, that the time will have been lapsed, Mr. Speaker. And the standing orders in number 3, Mr. Speaker, are very clear. Number 4, that if we want to extend the house, we can move the motion of extending the time, Mr. Speaker, 30 minutes before that the time comes, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, that's why I'm standing, seeking that we extend our sitting, Mr. Speaker, until we finish the business which is in the order paper today, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, because of that important business, I wanted to ask Honorable Bagaka, the DS, to second me, Mr. Speaker, for the extension of time, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Bagaka.
Honorable Speaker, I want to second the motion by the Honorable James Ondari that the matter before us is quite important and the honorable members to participate. And so that to happen, I second that we extend the time. Thank you.
Honorable members, thank you. Honorable members, I now propose a question which is that pursuant to standing order number 27. This House resolves to extend this sitting time. Honorable Gugu.
Honorable Speaker, I agree with the Honorable Ndari. I'm both of the matter. And Honorable Speaker, I request that you put that question. I support.
Thank you. Thank you, honorable members. As we have, all of us, we have agreed. This is a very important issue. Honorable members, I now put a question which is that pursuant to the standing order number 27. Honorable Edina, just come. Honorable members, I now put a question which is that pursuant to standing order number 27. This House is able to extend this sitting time. As many of the same opinion say aye. As many of the contrary opinion say nay. The aye have it. We can proceed. Honorable Richmond.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, nami niweze kupata nafasi hii ili niweze kuchangia kwa hii bajeti ya ziada. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwanza leo tunastahili kuelewa ya kwamba bajeti ya ziada ina maana ya nini kabla tuanze kupiga gumzo ama kujadili. Hii ni bajeti ambaye labda kwa wakati mwingine unaweza pata kuna mambo mengi ambayo yametokea yanahitaji hela, lakini hela zenyewe hazikuwa kwenye bajeti. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi bajeti ya ziada yenyewe imeweza kuleta pendekezo ya kwamba hasa kuna maneno ya kulipa bili zilizosubiri, kwa sababu Mheshimiwa Spika, wanakandarasi wengi wamepiga kelele ya kwamba wanahitaji walipwe. Mheshimiwa Spika, kama kamati ambayo mimi mmoja wao ambaye aliketi kwenye hiyo kamati, tuliweza kupiga msasa kwenye bajeti yenyewe, tukaweza kuna miradi ambayo ingeweza kuendelea Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hivyo pesa zikaweza kutolewa kule ili tuweze kupata fedha za kulipa wanakandarasi. Pia kwenye zile bill ambazo zilikuwa zinasubiri, kuna visawe ambavyo viliweza kupigwa pale Mheshimiwa Spika, na tukaweza kupata bili ambazo zinahitaji kulipwa kwa haraka. Mheshimiwa Spika, hayo ndio tuweza kufanya kama kamati Mheshimiwa Spika. Alafu pia Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna wale wafanyikazi ambao tuliokuwa nataka kuajiri kwa mkataba wa kazi. Mheshimiwa Spika, tukaweza kutenga milioni 50 ili wale vijana ambao wako kule nyumbani wengine tuweze kuwapa zile kandarasi za mkataba ili waweze kusaidika Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, tukiangalia kuna mahali hela mingi zilienda katika hifadhi ya viwanda kule Tongoroini Mheshimiwa Spika. Tuliweza kutenga fedha za kuendelea, kwa sababu Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa kweli Mheshimiwa wengi watakuja kuelewa ya kwamba ile kandarasi ilipeanwa ama ilitangazwa bila hela hata shilingi moja. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, ni letu la msingi tungeweza kuangalia tunatoa wapi, kwa sababu mwanakandarasi mwenyewe alikuwa ameanza kazi. Kuanza kazi bila hela zozote. Mheshimiwa Spika, serikali kuu na ambaye waziri aliyokuwepo wa viwanda Mheshimiwa Moses Kuria aliweza kuja hapa tukatangaza tukapeana, lakini hela zenyewe hamuna. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, ilikuwa kwa busara tuweze kutenga hela katika bajeti yetu ili tuweze kulipa mwanakandarasi, kwa sababu Mheshimiwa Spika, serikali kuu ukiangalia katika bajeti yake ya ziada hakuna mahali wametenga hela za kulipa huyu mwanakandarasi ambaye tumekuwa tumempa kandarasi. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa sababu Mheshimiwa Spika, niende kwa haraka. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna bajeti ambaye ilikuwa ya kata. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna miradi ambayo haiwezi kuwa inaendelea na hatuwezi kuwa tunatenga hela tunaweka pale ambazo haziwezi tumika Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nasimama hapa kuunga mkono, na Mheshimiwa Spika, nafikiria kwa sasa tumeshajadili ya kutosha Mheshimiwa Spika. Weka swali tumalize hilo swala.
Honorable Bachila.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to contribute on this budget report. I know the budget estimates were tabled in the House and it was forwarded to the Budget Committee to scrutinize those estimates so that the Budget Committee can come up with a report. And this is the report we are supposed to debate here. We are not supposed to scrutinize items by items right now, because it was done during the budget meeting when we went to Kisumu and we wrote a report. So we are supposed to pass this report. Number two, Mr. Speaker, I want to request, as my colleague, the chairman for PAC proposed, that the relevant committees make a follow-up to executive to implement this report. The only challenge we have is implementation. The report comes here, we pass a budget, like now we are going to pass this budget, we are going to give the executive to implement. Now the implementation is the problem. Please let us be strict for the executive to implement this report or to implement this budget so that we can do development for our people. Mr. Speaker, I request that you put a question because of the, everybody is agreeing that the report is okay.
Honorable Ngoba.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me a chance to also contribute on this matter before this County Assembly. Honorable Speaker, from the onset, I stand to support the report that has been tabled by the Honorable Chair, Budget and Appropriations Committee. Honorable Speaker, looking at the rationale behind revising the budget, Honorable Speaker, I want to point out on issue number 1, that is the purchase of graders, Honorable Speaker. We come from roads, Honorable Speaker, and the roads are terrible. Honorable Speaker, the 80 million that has been allocated to purchase the graders is really going to help our people so that we have good roads. Honorable Speaker, in our offices, the people who elected us come with issues, and one of the issues is employment opportunities, Honorable Speaker. And in most cases, Honorable Speaker, they request to be given small jobs like sweeping and also clearing bushes and drainage, Honorable Speaker. So the amount of money, Honorable Speaker, that has been allocated, that's the 50 million, Honorable Speaker. I want to commend the Budget Committee for doing that job so that at least our youths can have an opportunity to do some work and earn a living. Honorable Speaker, I also want to point out on the issue of community health workers, Honorable Speaker. These people have been offering services for a long period of time, Honorable Speaker, without being remunerated. So I'm requesting that this County Assembly passes this document so that those community health workers can be remunerated, and that's a sign of actually encouraging them to keep on working. Honorable Speaker, improvement of our level 4 hospitals, Honorable Speaker, is a good idea also. You can see, Honorable Speaker, we have 30 million that is going to our level 4 facilities to improve them so that our citizens can get treatment in those facilities, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, you have given enough time for honorable members to give their views, and I'm asking, Honorable Speaker, that you put a question so that we can move and do other things, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, you see, that is his suggestion. And I have all the powers to do what it entails for me. Honorable Edna, your chance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity so that I can table my input into this report. My input. Mr. Speaker, I want to draw the attention of honorable members into the overall departmental budget adjustments. There are some corrections I want to note. Office of the Governor and Deputy Governor approved the budget is 508,746,720. Adjustment 57,400 million. The correct sum should have been 481,346,720. The chair budget, you can note that. Then we go to page 11. Education, labor and manpower, 1,271,106,661. Adjustment 126,211,654. The correct sum should have been 1,144,895,007. There is an error of, you can note that. Then we go to medical services, public health and sanitation. The correct sum should have been 3,963,502,353. I don't want to read all the errors, Mr. Speaker. I want to help the chair budget as at now, because after all, it's going to be roasted in this same assembly. So I come in good faith. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable. You know, You know, Honorable Edna is an accountant, so he knows those figures. Lead the minority. Elevator, you can put your mic off.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am a member of the Budget Committee, and Mr. Speaker, I was part of the team that came through this report. Mr. Speaker, for the starters, if you read Politics 101, basically, when you do definition, is about allocation of resources. So, Mr. Speaker, as we are here, each one of us has an interest, and we are interested to see the allocation of resources. And, Mr. Speaker, what the members are asking is about equitable distribution. It's not about equality, because I do not expect, Mr. Speaker, to have the same amount as the leader of majority, because you see, Mr. Speaker, that is how politics is. If you were the national parliament, for example, Honorable Ichungwa will have always something more than the other members. That is the way politics is, Mr. Speaker, even if you go to America. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I look at the rationale of this budget. Mostly, Mr. Speaker, the rationale is reallocation. There is no new, except I saw only 10 million shillings. That does not make a material difference in one of the internationally accepted principles of accounting. So, Mr. Speaker, the key thing here, Mr. Speaker, and I wish Honorable Wu can sit and listen to others as we listened to him, Mr. Speaker. In terms of the allocation, Mr. Speaker, there is the 620 million that was meant to the cancer center. Mr. Speaker, that is something that really we want an answer. And the Committee of Health will need to sit down and tell us why, what's happening. Because as a member who has been in this house for the last 2 terms, this is my 3rd term, Mr. Speaker, the cancer center is a key component of Kisii County. And if you look at the Lake Region Economic Bloc, Kisii has been leading in health facility. I'm glad about the Mother-Child Hospital and all the other issues of developing medical facilities. Mr. Speaker, one of the key components that we want to develop in the health sector is cancer center, together with developing Kisii University and other medical areas to be able to train the best personnel in medical. So that is something that the Committee on Health needs to tell us what has happened to reallocate or to delete that vote. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, in terms of health, the 30 million given to 10 sub-county hospitals as opposed to 2 hospitals, Nyamache and Ogembo. Mr. Speaker, it's not enough. We debated and we agreed that we need also to consider the other sub-county hospitals. Because, Mr. Speaker, we want to develop the referral system from the smaller facilities, level 1, 2, 3, to level 4s that are working. As it is, Mr. Speaker, the level 4s we have are only by name. Many of them are not functional. So, Mr. Speaker, the 30 million, we also want it to go. I want money in Marani. That's why I'm elected from there. I want also, as much as Ogemba's got, I want also Maran to get. Mr. Speaker, the other point that is there, that Kisii is agricultural and is also a commercial. Mr. Speaker, we must focus more on the roads infrastructure that leads to markets and also enable our people to get credit facilities to be able to do business. Mr. Speaker, the other aspect is water. We need water to go to every household. Mr. Speaker, we want to see more allocation to this department. And Mr. Speaker, I want to conclude with two things. One, and this is what I want the government side to listen to. Mr. Speaker, we can allocate even 100 million to Maran Ward. But if this money is not procured, Mr. Speaker, it doesn't make sense. The challenge the government of Simba Arati is facing is that they are late in procurement, Mr. Speaker. This is December, procurement is not complete, so when is work going to start? And it's our work as the minority side to remind the government that Governor Simba Arati needs to hit the ground and raise the projects to start. The money is here. We are going to pass the supplementary budget. We passed the budget leader, and now what we want is action on the ground, Mr. Speaker. Even if we procure 10 million for Maran Ward, if it's not put to action, Mr. Speaker, it doesn't make sense. So, Mr. Speaker, what I want to urge the government, and I want a chairman budget where the docket of procurement is, to know that we are late in doing procurement. We are now finishing the second quarter of this financial year. Mr. Speaker, we are remaining with 1 quarter, that is from January to March. From April, Mr. Speaker, next year, Honorable Ndari can agree with me, the national government, treasury, they start closing down IFMIS. Because, Mr. Speaker, we know that money in Kenya is not enough. It's scarce. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, we as an assembly have not affected our budget, particularly the current. Mr. Speaker, when I look at the honorable members here, there are certain aspects they expect us to do for them as an assembly. One of the other that they want is constructing offices for the honorable members at the ward level, but also constructing the chambers, the new chambers, Mr. Speaker, because this one is not good enough. For prosperity of Kisii County, we need chambers, Mr. Speaker, and we have visited. Honorable members have gone to Nakuru, they have seen what they have. We have seen to Nairobi, we have seen what they have, Mr. Speaker. For us to be honorable, we need certain things. We need security for the members here. We need to have presence that are safe, Mr. Speaker. So I want to urge that going forward, let us do this, because this is an item that has remained the budget for so long. So, Mr. Speaker, on behalf of this site, what we want to urge the government is to hit the ground running so that they can do procurement. Even if we have 27 million for the wards, Mr. Speaker, if it's not procured, even if we have 100, if it's not procured, it doesn't. So we need to move from paper money to money that can hit the ground. And Mr. Speaker, also lastly, for your information, we need, I am glad, because when we asked the chairman budget, it is also true that some of the contractors have started to be paid. Mr. Speaker, there is no money enough in circulation in this county. We need people to be paid for the services rendered so that we can have circulation money. Honorable Leader of Majority is a businessman. He knows the importance of liquidity.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to also add my voice to the supplementary budget. I want to start by thanking the Committee on Budget for the job well done, and also thank the government for finding it in place to be able to make a budget or a supplementary that actually speaks to the people. I can say that this supplementary is actually a pro-people document. The document before us speaks to the employment of people in our wards through the labor-based program. Labor-based program will work through employment of young men and women in our villages to be able to maintain the roads. in the past few weeks that we have had the rains, you have seen most of the roads are impassable in our wards. So even if we have put a budget that will be able to do the roads, then the question will still remain, how long those roads remain passable. And for that to happen, the budget committee, through the knowledge of His Excellency the Governor, have put money to buy graders to be able to maintain these roads in a continuous basis, and by so doing, also providing employment to over 25 members from each ward to be able to not only benefit by getting the income in their pockets, but also maintain these roads routinely from time to time to ensure that we are able to have these projects run for a longer time and have value for money. And I also want to say the industrial park, a project that is going to be stationed in Tongeri in Bokimongo Ward, a project that will see the county plus the national government spend 500 million. During the construction phase, this project will be able to provide employment to young people, and I will ask that once this project is committed, that there is consideration the contractor to ensure that they employ members of all the five wards and ensure that people who are working that particular project and the contractors who are subcontracted in that particular project actually come from Kisii County. And therefore the issue about money circulation will have been finished with, because you have the entire 500 million working in a project within Kisii County, it will be able to provide employment to so many people. And this is, I think, something that is already being spoken about across. Honorable Speaker, the budget also speaks to areas of health. Health is very critical, and I want to applaud the budget committee for finding, even with these meager resources, to be able to allocate money to Nyamache Hospital. At the moment, Nyamache Hospital, actually the mortuary is not working, and I will ask that once the budget is actually, once the supplementary is done and approved by the control budget, that that particular mortuary can be able to be done, and also start a building that can be done to, because this is a first project. I want to assume that 30 million that was put by the budget committee is not enough to be able to do a multi-story building, but I'm looking at a case where maybe by the end of the 4 years from now, we'll be able to have Ogembo Hospital and Nyamache Hospital having facilities that can be able to accommodate the numbers from that particular area, and also extend the same services to the other wards that have also level 4 hospitals. One of the most interesting things that I've also seen is that the Honorable Mbacha has spoken about other level 4 hospitals, and actually the budget committee in their wisdom have also put aside 30 million to go to all the other level 4 hospitals to be able to equip them with the equipment, and also do maybe laboratories to be able to also mitigate the issues we have about health. And this, if it's sustainably done over the years, then by the end of the 5 years, I'm very sure that the health issues will be solved. Honorable Speaker, allow me to also thank His Excellency the Governor for bringing to the Assembly the board of the municipality. I come from Masige West, which also touches on the municipality, the Honorable Paradiso and the rest of the members. And I ask this House that when you are called upon, because looking at the timelines, we may not be able to pass the committee or the board on time. We may have to have either a special sitting or an extension. I request that the honorable members find it in their place, that when that time is up, we come and pass that particular board to be able to have the Ogembo municipality operational, so we can be able to assist our people and grow that town into the standards of our municipality. Thank you.
Chair Budget.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for calling me this opportunity to respond to a few issues that have been raised by members. First, I would like to start with the issue of pending bills. And I want to assure members that when we did the revised budget, the second revised budget last year, we factored in pending bills, which are amounting to 231 million. And already in the budget, we already had pending bills in the budget that we had. So going forward, we have only added an extra 150 million. So Honorable Paradiso said that 119 has been paid, so you can know that we still have a balance to pay, plus the 150 and also the balance that was supposed to be paid of around 430 million. Because as Honorable Amos had said, it is very clear that pending bills are treated as a first charge, and we received that directive from the control of budget. And I'm also reading circulars that she has been arrested. I don't know why she has been arrested. So the second issue, Honorable Amos Mokaya deferred us, wanted to know why we did this supplementary. But I want to inform Honorable Amos that He's not around, but I can still inform him. Oh, yes. Honorable Amos, that even the national government did a supplementary budget. The reason why they did a supplementary budget is because we have a debts that we're supposed to pay. And normally these debts are paid in dollars. Now, because the dollar rose, we had to do a supplementary so that we can cap the margin that there was a deficit. Number two, you also spoke about implementation of the project, of the budget, and implementation of the budget is still on, Mr. Speaker, because Honorable Amos earns a salary. And this salary comes from this budget. So that is the first implementation of the budget. The budget is factored, the salaries that you earn are factored in the budget, and you earn a salary. So it's because of this budget. Mr. Speaker, there was this issue of the industrial park, where members are saying that it has been factored twice. Initially, it was a contra entry, which was on the revenue side and also on the expenditure side. So, Mr. Speaker, what we did, because we were expecting this money to come from the national government, and it's not going to come. I was expecting Honorable Lillian God, because I saw her yesterday speak on matters of county importance, to tell us whether we are going to get this money from the national government, because as it stands now, Kisii County is not getting this money from the national government, and we had to remove it on the revenue side and put an extra 50 million on the expenditure side. But remember, we don't have that money. So we have to look for the amount, the total amount of 150 million. So it was removed from the revenue side and remained on the expenditure side. Honorable Lillian also raised an issue about the Kisii Stadium. The Kisii Stadium had an initial development expenditure of 30 million, one which was going to, it was a purchase of a generator, 10 million, and also a retainer wall of 20 million, which was amounting to 30 million. But from the look of things, you can even see somebody had been allocated a tender to do the stadium. So that person is doing pipes in the stadium, but he has a deficit of 20 million. So we are giving him an extra 20 million so that he can complete the stadium to allow Shaban and other games to be played at the stadium. Mr. Speaker, also another issue the Honorable Amos said was the issue of we should do a supplementary based on deficient or more allocations, but it's also done in case there's an emergency, and you can refer to page 4 of the report. Mr. Speaker, there was also an issue of the salaries. The salaries to 50 million has been put to cater for the house levy, because you all know about the house levy. It is contributed both sides by the employee and the employer, and also the NSSF and also salary increments. These were unforeseen. We had not seen them, so it had to be factored. And as I had explained earlier on again, we also had issues with the municipality. We had not given them an allocation of their salaries. So we have put 250 million to cater for salary adjustments. The issue of ECD and being put on permanent basis, it had already been factored. So it's upon us to implement. Honorable Beatrice raised an issue on the county rig. The county rig, Mr. Speaker, has a budget. The first budget, we have a field operation of 1.4. We have refined fuel of 3.4 and maintenance of civil works at 6 million. So the chair water should follow up the issue of the county rig and ensure that at least every member who is elected here gets at least one borehole in every ward, because we already have an allocation including fuel of 3.4 million, Mr. Speaker. There is the issue of unbundling the budget, Mr. Speaker. There are issues that you cannot unbundle. And Mr. Speaker, we all had ward-based budgeting. So these are the issues that you can talk about. But these other issues, as you know, we agreed, we're leaving them to the executive to implement. Like now, the issue of graders. The graders have been put at 80 million. Mr. Speaker, sir, I don't know how we can unbundle these graders to go to every ward. Because 80 million, these graders will be bought. They come here to the public works so they can be helping us whenever a need arises. Because now, Mr. Speaker, if you say we unbundle this issue of graders to a ward, every ward will receive 1.77, and you cannot be able to purchase a grader, Mr. Speaker. So these graders will be coming to the county, and then, yes. So, but they are going to help members when need arises. For example, Mr. Speaker had said earlier on the issues of funerals and also other issues, emerging issues from various wards. Mr. Speaker, we have an issue of the contracted staff. The contracted staff are going to help us in labor-based maintenance of roads, Because, Mr. Speaker, we all know that even if you do have a very good road, if it's not properly maintained, that road cannot sustain for long. So we've put 50 million, and as the Deputy Speaker has indicated, if we divide this money, we can get that we're employing around 25 people per ward to maintain the roads. Then there's an issue of purchase of Maram, 20 million. Initially, Honorable Amos, it was 10 million, but when we considered as a budget committee, we realized that this money might not be enough, so we increased to 20 million. Mr. Speaker, we have 9 sub-counties, and in these 9 sub-counties, if we allocate this money fairly, you can realize that at least every constituency will receive around 2 million for purchase of Maram. This one is good enough for a start. Mr. Speaker, there was an issue of tourism that was raised by Honorable Lillian Gore. The tourism promotion was at 6 million, but you realize that as it stands today, we've not received anything to show that it's going to happen because we are supposed to have Mr. and Ms. Kisii County. So, and also their foreign travels. It was scrapped because of the same amount was going to the industrial parks. So, because there's no communication so far, that's why it was scrapped. And then Honorable Mbach has raised an issue about the cancer center, Mr. Speaker. The cancer center, we are getting 1.8 from a donor, but this one will be done by the national government. But as the county, we shall benefit. Honorable Edina has raised also a very critical issue. When we were doing this thing, it was being run by Excel, and Excel, if you're not keen, if you mess up with the formula, it can end up giving you different results. So it has been noted, and we shall rectify. So thanks for noting this. So, Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving these honorable members an opportunity to also give their input on this budget. And I now ask members to support this motion so that we can start now implementing the budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Chair, I would only remind you that in this house, I don't have Honorable Paradiso, but I have Honorable Ndali. Honorable members, I now put a question which is that the House adopts a report of the Select Committee on the Budget and Appropriation on the Kisii County Supplementary Budget for the financial year 2023-2024, laid on the table today, Tuesday, 50 December 2023. As many all of the same opinion say aye. As many all of the contrary opinion say nay. The aye have it. Next order.